During the 1980s, thousands of men took to NFL fields, but only a few possessed the hunger to drive themselves to greatness. But a new decade has dawned, and it is time to make way for a new breed of hungry men. New names, fresh faces, ready to meet the 90s head-on. As hitters become more relentless, quarterbacks may have to become more reckless. And these hungry young guns are prepared to shoot their way into history.
Everett back to throw on 2nd and 6. Fires deep up the right side for Del Pino, and it is caught for the touchdown.
A new stable of thoroughbred runners is ready to make the turn and hit the straightaway to the record books. The 90s bring a new generation of bright-eyed fans, eager to catch a glimpse of a rising star. In the 90s, pro football will demand more speed, power, and toughness than ever before. Only a select group of players will meet the challenge and achieve true greatness. Players who possess a special appetite for glory. Players who are the NFL's hungriest men. A talented group of quarterbacks, all of them 28 or under, promised to make the 90s a decade of thrilling aerial shootouts. These hungry young guns are steely-eyed and eager to squeeze the trigger. When quick-draw artists such as Cleveland's Bernie Kosar get the drop on a defense, the fireworks are impressive.
Kosar, who is going to throw on 1st down, going deep, left side, Slaughter open, has it at the 40. The foot race is on. Webster Slaughter to the 30, to the 25, spins around, he's going all the way for a touchdown.
In 5 pro seasons, Kosar has taken the Browns to 3 AFC championship games. Washington's Mark Rippon has yet to lead his team into the playoffs, but as a second-year pro in 1989, he directed the NFL's top-ranked passing offense. While Rippon is essential to the Redskins' future, Atlanta's Chris Miller has the potential to help reverse the fortunes of the long-suffering Falcons. Another strong-arm savior is Tampa Bay's highly touted Vinny Testaverde, whose struggle to duplicate his collegiate heroics have earned him some valuable advice.
I was at a banquet once with Joe Paterno, and he gave me some advice, and he said, just remember one thing, you're never as good as people say you are. And I looked at him, and I didn't know either to say thank you or, hey, you're crazy, you know. But I thanked him because he's right.
Is Philadelphia's Randall Cunningham as good as people say he is? The man who's been tabbed the quarterback of the 90s possesses extraordinary athletic skills. This daring young gun is likely to keep the Eagles soaring into the new decade.
Cunningham back again. He's looking. He's going to run. He jumps. He's out. Touchdown!
Like Cunningham, Pittsburgh's Bubby Brister is reckless and relentless when it comes to putting his body on the line. Bubby hasn't dazzled anyone with his statistics, but he has dizzied opponents with his raw talent and competitive hunger. Behind Brister in 1989, the Steelers earned their first playoff berth since 1984. While Bubby Brister is starting to come into his own, the Rams' Jim Everett is already there. He made his first NFL appearance in the 11th week of 1986, when John Robinson decided that his rookie's passing talents had been kept bottled up long enough.
I think, you know, the Orson Welles advertisement about we'll open no wine before it's time, I think was a reasonable analogy.
John, I said, how long is he going to play? And he says, well, he's either going to play 8 downs or the rest of the century.
Everett's very first pro pass went for a touchdown in a storybook debut. But a year later, it looked like Everett might not see the end of the decade. Everett's inexperience and flaws in his passing mechanics contributed to a frustrating campaign. Then, in 1988, adjustments were made, and a hungry Everett established himself as an armed force to be reckoned with.
Everett to throw on 3rd down and 9, rolls out of the pocket to the right side, sets and throws deep and down the middle for Aaron Cox. Caught for the touchdown!
He has a tremendous enthusiasm for the game, and he will fight you and compete over anything. You know, I mean, if you're going to play hunch basketball with him, you better bring your elbow pads.
1989 marked the second straight season that Everett led the NFL in touchdown passes. So effective was this young gun that his teammates felt he would pull out an overtime victory against New York in the NFC playoffs.
Our game, what? What? Our game, what? Our game. Back to throw, Everett sets, fires up the right side for Flipper Anderson. Caught for the touchdown, and the Rams win it.
Jim Everett has set a standard that should inspire developing talents like Dallas's Troy Aikman. The top pick in the 1989 draft, Aikman displayed flashes of brilliance during the hard-luck campaign of the rebuilding Cowboys.
Snap is back, Rams blitz, loop to the right side of the end zone, Bernard Ford, touchdown Cowboys!
Want to train for a career that's in high demand? Diesel training at University.
Quarterback Jeff George was the first selection of the 1990 draft. He already has his own pro set card, and the Indianapolis Colts hope he'll become their ace during the new decade.
Oh, I'm really excited. It's a dream come true, really.
As a collegiate, George was effective, but not as spectacular as Houston's Andre Ware, the Heisman Trophy winner who became Detroit's top selection. While the pressure is intense on the number ones, a 10th-round choice from 1987 named Don Majkowski demonstrated that a lowly pick can become a top-flight performer. And Green Bay's quarterback performed plenty of magic in 1989.
He's a very competitive individual. He plays the game at quarterback more like you might play linebacker. He's aggressive in his approach to playing the quarterback.
Majkowski's hungry playing style helped the Packers compile their first winning record in 7 years. The magic touch produced the league leadership in attempts, completions, and yardage. It was also involved in some of the most unusual and exciting plays of 1989.
Majkowski back to throw. On a blitz, comes over the middle. It is caught, and that is Jeff Query. He fumbles the ball, and the Packers, Sterling Sharp picks it up, and he's in the end zone. Touchdown! Sterling Sharp!
They can't stop us.
I know. Hey, you all right, dog?
Been on them all day. Yeah, I'm all right.
I ain't know where you at, dog.
is big time. Let's go.
Majkowski continually made big-time plays as he established himself as a big league quarterback. He was especially effective when maneuvering in tight spots, and he led the pack to 4 come-from-behind victories that were decided by a single point.
On 4th and goal, Majkowski with the snap, back with some time, looking, now stepping up, on the run. He's going to have to throw in the end zone. Throw it on, and touchdown! Sterling Sharp, he caught it, and he threw it in between 2, and what a throw by Majkowski with 32 seconds to go in the game.
I really feel that Don's going to continue to develop. I think he made a major step, certainly, in his development this last year, and I would look for him to keep on getting better for the next 3, 4, 5 years, and I think he's got a great future.
The future belongs to Don Majkowski and the other emerging quarterbacks who are seeking to notch big reputations for themselves during the 1990s. These men are the NFL's hungry young guns, and they have a showdown with history.
Tonight on Path to the Draft, presented by GMC Sierra. Which running back?
No young hitter in the NFL has been driven by a stronger hunger to overcome adversity than San Diego's Leslie O'Neal. O'Neal burst upon the NFL scene in 1986, registering 12.5 sacks in his first 13 games. And the Chargers' first-round draft pick was named the NFL's Defensive Rookie of the Year. It was a season in which number 91 always seemed to be in the right place at the right time. But on the 13th week of that charmed season, the fates turned their back on Leslie O'Neal. On a routine run by the Colts' Albert Bentley, O'Neal was not even in on the tackle, but this time he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. O'Neal suffered the worst kind of knee injury imaginable. His brilliant rookie season came to a crashing halt, and O'Neal would spend nearly 2 years trying to reconstruct what appeared to be a shattered career.
You know, he was counted out, I think, by a lot of people. And Leslie seemed to take everything in stride and worked with amazing effort. I mean, every day he'd be in there. I don't think there was a day that I came in that he wasn't down there working the knee.
If anybody was going to come back from that kind of injury, Leslie was the guy that could. He was always very focused throughout the rehabilitation, had confidence that he'd be back when most other people didn't think he ever would come back.
O'Neal proved his skeptics wrong, and after being sidelined 22 months, he returned midway through the 1988 season, hungrier than ever. In 1989, O'Neal played the first full season of his young career, moving from defensive end to outside linebacker. He adjusted well enough to earn a Pro Bowl berth with 12.5 sacks, the most by any linebacker in the AFC.
I feel a lot fresher playing the outside linebacker. I think it's very positive for me. It keeps me into the game because I'm playing the different positions, and also it helps me help other people. Just the fact that I can run and roam, a lot of freedom. Going out there, playing every play, being aggressive, trying to make things happen.
An awesome individual right there, Leslie O'Neal, and it's exciting to see how he's worked and how he overcame adversity. People thinking he wasn't going to come back. I know he had a lot of things going on in his own head because it took so long. But he hung in there, and now he's reaping the rewards of his labor.
He's just a persevering guy with outstanding ability, and I would say at this point in time that he's a better player now than he was before he got hurt.
4th down from the 30. There's a snap. Kubiak to throw, gets hit, gets sacked! O'Neal, the Chargers are going to take over, and they got a chance to win it against the best team in the AFC.
Leslie O'Neal, a man with the courage to fight back and the hunger to fight on. O'Neal is just one of several NFL hitmen who will try to become the most dominant defensive player of the 90s. The Giants' Lawrence Taylor was the defender of the 80s. And he has a host of hungry young candidates ready to take his place and become the hitman of the 90s. Their impact is sure to shake the football world. The 90s will see several defenders in the mold of Cincinnati's David Fulcher, the fiercest among a new bird of prey in the NFL. Fulcher is a 230-pound safety, and he has other linebacker-sized counterparts in the secondary like Miami's Louis Oliver. Denver's Steve Atwater is another of the new age safeties, men who have the size to hit like a truck, but the speed and reflexes to maneuver like a Porsche. A position that once was played by 180-pounders now is dominated by the likes of Phoenix's 210-pound Tim McDonald and Detroit's 220-pound Benny Blades.
In years to come, safeties of my size and strength will be obsolete once again. They'll get bigger, they'll get faster. I can see for coming, you'll see safeties in the year 2000, 6'3", 6'4", 230, that's running 4.3s. So that's just, something, a phase here that's going through.
One safety who has become known more as a thief than a hitman is the Jets' Eric McMillan. In his first 2 NFL seasons, McMillan picked off 14 passes and scored a total of 5 touchdowns. The 200-pound McMillan is built for power and speed, something you surely wouldn't expect in a man nearly 100 pounds heavier. Cleveland's 280-pound defensive lineman Michael Dean Perry may seem tiny next to his big brother William the Refrigerator, but he is still big enough to shock people with his amazing quickness off the ball. Equally as deceptive is Philadelphia's 295-pound Jerome Brown. Brown is another incredible Hulk on the defensive line, hungry for the new decade. But the true supermen of the 90s will play a different position. Outside linebackers, they have become the most feared men in football, usually the most fine-tuned athletes on a defense, and normally the hungriest men on the field. Kevin Green's 16.5 sacks helped the Rams reach the NFC Championship game in 1989, and now Green and his teammates are hungry for more in the 90s.
I think we're all just kind of seeing blood right now, and I hope it continues. I hope, nobody actually comes out and punches us in the mouth. But then again, if someone does punch us in the mouth, hey, I want to be there, and I want to punch him right back.
Hey, we gotta punch him in the face, baby.
He went down, I heard, there ain't nothing like feeling a quarterback's body crumble, man, when you hit him in the throat. Keep it up, man, keep it up, man, keep it up.
Green isn't alone in his all-out assault on quarterbacks. Saints fourth-year man Pat Swilling also recorded 16.5 sacks in 1989. And he is one of several outside linebackers who will be a nightmare for quarterbacks in the 90s. Another is Green Bay's flamboyant Tim Harris, one ornery desperado who loves shooting his mouth off to opponents and shooting his guns off after every sack.
I like those guns right there. Shoot them up all day long today. Shoot them up all day long.
Harris shot up 47 quarterbacks in his first 4 seasons, and his sidearm should blaze well into the new decade. Defenders like Harris are hard to come by, but one school is now specializing in turning out lightning-quick linebackers of the future. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers made Alabama's Keith McCants the 4th player selected in the 1990 NFL Draft, hoping he follows in the footsteps of another former Crimson Tide linebacker, Buffalo's Cornelius Bennett.
Cornelius Bennett is, he's super. He's quicker than a cat. This guy's going to be one
greatest linebackers that ever played.
Bennett was a Pro Bowl performer in 1988, his first full NFL season. And 1 year later, another Alabama slammer blasted his way into the NFL. In 1989, rookie linebacker Derek Thomas became an instant hit with the Kansas City Chiefs. He led the team with 10 sacks, earned a Pro Bowl berth, and was named the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. Thomas was driven by a different kind of hunger than most rookies. It was the hunger to live up to the level of excellence established by his father, Air Force pilot Robert Thomas, a Vietnam MIA since Derek was 5.
My father excelled at everything he set out to achieve. I take that same perspective into football, into life. When we played Denver, the Air Force Base in Kansas City flew a group of jets right across the stadium. They flew like 3 or 4 feet over the scoreboard. You could feel it when it came over. And that got me real excited. And, you know, at that point I said, well, you know, I guess my father's somewhere watching, you know, and that inspired me to try to play the best that I could play on that day.
Walking off that field.
The annual NFL Draft is the feeding ground for the hungriest pro football teams.
Dallas selects Emmitt Smith, running back from Florida. The New York Jets select Blair Thomas, running back, Penn State.
The draft is a gamble, even more speculative than the stock market. And this season, it seemed all the futures were in the blue chip runners. The New York Jets hope Penn State's Blair Thomas can put them back on the fast track and run them back into the playoffs. Recent history has seen the Dallas Cowboys bullied, beaten black and blue, but the true colors of America's team may yet fly again with Florida's Emmitt Smith as a standard bearer. The dramatic impact of a young and hungry runner was never more evident than in Denver, where number 26 Bobby Humphrey helped carry the Broncos to another Super Bowl.
Well, I think the key thing is people really have to concern themselves with our running game now and concern themselves with Bobby Humphrey, whereas last year they didn't have to worry about the running game. They just had their ears back and rushed me every time.
I feel like, hey, if I get the ball here on the 20-yard line, I might just bust an 80-yarder. And, you know, I think about that every time I touch the football. Every given play, I think about something big is going to happen.
In motion. Handoff is to Humphrey. Straight ahead. He's at the 10, still on his feet at the 5, still going to the goal line. Slams the ball into the end zone. Touchdown, Bobby Humphrey.
While the Broncos have always packed Mile High Stadium, the Silverdome remained barren until the Detroit Lions acquired the 1988 Heisman Trophy winner. From his first carry to his last, Barry Sanders took the NFL by storm, a streak of lightning that blazed a trail to the end zone.
Galliano to Sanders up the middle. Scoots to the left side to the 15, to the 10, he's to the 5. Touchdown, Lions. Oh, what a move he put on at the line of scrimmage.
I try to perfect the skill of trying to make people miss. You know, I think if a running back can do that, along with speed, what else do you need?
He was the slickest model to roll out of the Motor City in years, and he took the Lions on an exhilarating ride. Each carry was a work of art, and Sanders ran as if he were on display. Defenses could look, but they couldn't touch. The rookie Rocket averaged over 5 yards per carry and finished just 10 yards behind the NFL rushing leader, despite carrying the ball 90 fewer times. The 5'8", 203-pound dynamo posted team records with 1,500 yards and 14 touchdowns. Once he reaches the end zone, there are no spikes, flips, high fives, or funk, for his best moves are made on the way to the end zone, not in it. While Barry Sanders commanded center ring, 3 other young runners were high-wire acts in the NFL. The Saints' Dalton Hilliard took his curtain calls in the Superdome. John L. Williams in the Kingdome, and Thurman Thomas of the Bills vanished into the wings of the end zone at Rich Stadium.
And a run by Thurman Thomas to the right, cutting back, driving through, breaking a tackle, still on his feet at the 20, at the 15, down to the 10-yard line, breaking down to the 5, and in for the touchdown on a spectacular run by Thurman Thomas.
The cheering never stops for John L. Williams, a player whose hunger is never satisfied. Williams blocks, runs, and catches with equal ease. And while the Seattle Seahawks have not had many super seasons, John L. always does.
One downfield, and it's caught on the fly at the 30-yard line, streaking down the 10, is John L. to the 5, deep going, touchdown Seahawks!
But both as a receiver and a runner, there is no young back the equal of Dalton Hilliard, and few can match his hunger to become the most versatile young runner. Running backs like Hilliard have launched the era of the multi-dimensional offensive player. Rookie Dave Meggett of the Giants was a combination runner, receiver, and return specialist, and was a major factor in the Giants' conquest of the NFC East.
Crosses the 30 going left, eludes a tackle, 35, gets down to the 40-yard line, he's straight to the 45, he's at the 50, 45, he's at the 40, he might go, he's gonna make it all the way.
There goes the record of Emily Tunnell, and he broke it with a vengeance.
Mini backs like Meggett are in vogue, and no player combined the style and flair of rookie game-breaker Eric Metcalf of the Browns.
The day of the draft, I said he'll make 2 plays that'll maybe make you the division winner rather than a wild card. Well, he did, and both of them against us, which made Cleveland the division winners. I was absolutely right on that guy.
Fires caught over the middle by Metcalf for a first down at the 40, and more at the 45-50, into Oilers territory at the 40, the 30, the 25, Eric Metcalf, touchdown! Eric Metcalf has stunned the Oilers and everybody else.
Stunning was an adjective used over 20 years ago to describe the Cardinals' Terry Metcalf, Eric's dad. Terry Metcalf was the prototype of today's multi-purpose back, and no player in the 70s was more explosive or exciting. Now, 2 decades later, the similarities are astounding. A father and son, mirror images of each other, shadow dances, identical human highlight films.
In motion, Kosar 3-step drop, firing outside, Metcalf wide open at the 20, 15, 10, dodges one tackle at the 5, touchdown on another brilliant move.
If Metcalf is Mighty Mouse in cleats, then the Superman of running backs is 6'2", 260-pound Christian Okoye of the Chiefs, a player with truly superhuman physical skills. Imagine the speed of Mercury in the body of Atlas, and you have Christian Okoye, the Nigerian nightmare.
Christian Okoye is almost like an offensive lineman playing in the backfield. 260 pounds? That's not even fair. I mean, who dealt you that hand?
In 1989, the Chiefs unleashed their wrecking ball, and the third-year runner demolished defenses. Okoye rushed for 1,480 yards, the most in pro football, and scored 12 touchdowns, the most in the AFC.
Chiefs played up in the Kingdom. They haven't won up there in many years, and they were behind 17-3 at halftime. Christian Okoye took over that football game. If there's one run that you can put your finger on that Christian Okoye made, is when he broke 4, 5, 6 tackles.
He's past the 5. He chucks it. Touchdown. Unbelievable.
People were bouncing off. He was like a battering ram. Players, defenders were bouncing off of him. And he got into the end zone. He walked into the end zone, dragging Seahawks into the end zone.
An incredible run with about 5 guys on his back by the Nigerian Nightmare, Christian Okoye.
And I was going, oh my God, this guy is unbelievable. He may be a Greek god before us.
Just for 13 seasons, the Chicago Bears running game was entrusted to a legend. Walter Payton became the NFL's all-time leading rusher and the leading man in the hearts of Chicago fans. But when number 34 retired following the 1987 season, the monumental task of filling his record-breaking shoes fell on a hungry young runner who for 2 seasons had walked in Payton's shadow.
I was always confident in myself, and I knew the talents that I had. It was just a matter of being able to get on the field and to show everyone else what I could do. And sometimes you have to wait. When I came in, I was playing behind the best of all times, so I couldn't just jump in as some first-rounders do and start immediately. I had to wait my turn.
Tom Zach draws back, hands it off to Anderson, sweeping left, gets the block from Tom Thayer, makes the turn, 35, 25, 20. Left side, he's going to go. Touchdown!
After waiting in the wings, Neil Anderson took flight when he became a full-time starter, gaining over 1,100 yards in 1988 and nearly 1,300 in 1989. He is quickly earning the type of respect in Chicago that for years was reserved for Payton.
I call him Charlie because his name is Charles Noe Anderson, and I have great respect for Charles Noe Anderson because I think that Charles Noe Anderson can be one of the great backs in this game. He's made some runs that we haven't seen in a long time, and we've had the greatest running back in the world here.
Got it back now, bounces to his right. He's across the 35 to the 40, shakes another defender to the 50, turning left into the clear. Neil Anderson to the 30, being chased by Dave Brown to the 20, down the left sideline to the 10 to the 5, touchdown!
He's still got a lot to learn, but he's got something that you don't coach. He has that sudden speed and instant acceleration.
Side handoff this time, and he's got it complete. Anderson, the 50, the 45, turns the corner to the 40, down to the 30, the 20. Good night, Irene. He's gone for a touchdown. 50 yards.
I tell you, that guy's faster than I thought he was when Gerald Green can't catch him.
I can take it the distance, and I can score from, I think, anywhere on the field. So I have enough speed to, to get to the end zone. I think that's my #1 strength.
Hands it off to Anderson, slanting left into the clear. Left side to the 45-50. Left sideline. He's gone. Anderson to the 40, to the 30, to the 25-20. He's going all the way. Touchdown!
He's told everybody he can go the distance, and he can back it up. He's a lot like Walter Payton, a young guy, and hope to God that Neil could play as long as Walter did and be as successful. He's a guy that you always know he's out on the football field. You come out of the huddle, you break the huddle, clap your hands, and Neil will walk up behind you, hey, I'll be in the left flat over here if you get in trouble.
If Anderson makes a promise to be in the left flat, he'll clear any hurdle to keep his word. Anderson has averaged 45 catches over the past 3 seasons, and his versatility has allowed him to score a total of 27 touchdowns in the past 2 years. He is a complete running back in every sense, and he possesses a hunger for the game that is evident every time he touches the ball.
You got to have a certain love for the game and a certain amount of respect for your teammates to want to go out each play and play it to its fullest.
He has picked up where a legend left off. And just as the 80s belonged to Walter Payton, the 90s are here for the taking for Neil Anderson, a hungry bear who has whet the appetite of Chicago fans and whose greatest tastes of glory lie just ahead.
I've always...
Joe Montana, the player of the 80s, led the 49ers, the team of the 80s, to 4 Super Bowl championships in the decade. Now, one has to wonder what it will take to unseat San Francisco and become the team of the new decade.
The first thing that's got to happen to become the team of the 90s is Joe Montana has to retire. When he retires, I'm throwing a banquet for him. It'll be the happiest moment of my coaching career. And for people to become the dominating team in the 90s, we need to get him up in the booth talking about what he did in the 80s.
Montana may stick around a while, meaning teams will have to find another way to become the next dynasty. Which team will be hungry enough to be called the team of the 90s? One franchise headed in the right direction is Buffalo, as the Bills' defense is charging full speed into the 90s. Shane Conlon, Cornelius Bennett, and Bruce Smith lead the young Buffalo Stampede, while on offense, quarterback Jim Kelly, running back Thurman Thomas, and number 83 wide receiver Andre Reed propel the Bills' explosive attack. The Bills won back-to-back AFC Eastern Division championships in 1988 and 89. And just as there is reason for optimism in Buffalo, there is also plenty to be jolly about in Green Bay, where the talent is stocking up like gifts under a Christmas tree.
Kowski out of the shotgun. Don back, looking, steps up again, looking. Now he wants to throw long down the sideline to Stoning Sharp. Caught it. 45-40, 35-30. He's quite low. 25-20. 15, the 10, the 5. Touchdown for Sterling Sharp.
Wide receiver Sterling Sharp, tackle Tony Mandarich, linebacker Tim Harris, and quarterback Don Mikowski have the pack back on track. Green Bay's 10-6 record in 1989 was its best mark since 1972. But another NFC Central team also appears revitalized for the new decade. In Detroit, the Lions have been trying to restore the roar for years, and they finally may have come up with a winning formula. The Silver Stretch, the Lions' run-and-shoot offense, is a wide-open schoolyard-type attack in which the receivers run their patterns based on what the defense gives them. The Houston Oilers have also switched to the run-and-shoot, which may turn out to be the offense of the 90s. But the Lions can say they started it all. And with 1989's Rookie of the Year, Barry Sanders, in the backfield, Detroit appears to have the start of something big. The big story in Kansas City in 1989 was 260-pound running back Christian Okoye, the NFL's leading rusher, who helped the Chiefs bulldoze their way to a winning record. And Kansas City received an added boost from hungry new coach Marty Schottenheimer.
Refuse to be blocked. Refuse to be blocked, whether it's one guy, two guys, refuse to be blocked, and then you'll get it done. Now let's go. Rob, are they holding you?
40 bases all over.
Don't let them hold you.
Yes, sir.
Don't let them hold you.
The addition of rookie linebacker Derek Thomas helped the Chiefs field the AFC's top-rated defense in 1989, while in Pittsburgh, the leadership of quarterback Bubby Brister and the hard-nosed running of Tim Worley and number 33 Merrill Hodge made the Steelers a surprise playoff team. Pittsburgh is also building a new steel curtain defense with young defenders like number 26 Rod Woodson, safety Carnell Lake, and punishing linebacker Greg Lloyd. Chuck Noll appears to be rebuilding a team with a proud history. But another NFL team would like to forget its recent history altogether. The Atlanta Falcons haven't fielded a winning team in a non-strike season since 1980. The Falcons can only pray that the 90s are a kinder decade. And in hopes of ensuring a brighter future, they've called upon a face from the past. Jerry Glanville, the James Dean of NFL coaches, has returned to Atlanta, where he was an assistant in the late 70s and early 80s. And this rebel does have a cause: to transform football's laughable losers into wide-eyed winners, and to have some fun along the way.
Glanville is a guy who believes in hard work, but he believes in having a laugh every now and then. But we realize as players that if he's going to let us laugh every once in a while. We owe it to him that when it's time to work,
Get going!
Come up through there, come up through there, come up through there.
Glanville has a tremendous resource of young talent from which to tap. Number 44, John Settle, Keith Jones, 1990 first-round draft pick Steve Broussard, and quarterback Chris Miller give Atlanta a hungry young backfield with great potential. Number 85, receiver Sean Collins, was a first-round pick in 1989. And in 1990, he's joined by another 89 first-round receiver, Andre Rison. In a pre-draft trade with the Colts, the Falcons acquired both the slippery Rison and Pro Bowl tackle Chris Hinton, who joins another perennial All-Pro on the line, number 79 guard Bill Fralick. While Fralick quietly goes about his business of manhandling defensive linemen, the Falcons' top pick from 1989 can't keep his mouth shut with anything short of a gag order. Still, the swaggering, self-hyping Deion Sanders has the potential to be one of the best cornerbacks of the 90s, just as the first player picked in the 1988 draft, Andre Bruce, could develop into one of the decade's best linebackers. In 1990, this vast array of Falcon talent will take the field in new black jerseys and helmets. But Glanville will need time and patience before he gives his team the true look of a winner.
Wrong gap, wrong gap, wrong gap. Wrong gap. You're hitting the outside. You got to hit inside the tackle. The whole damn thing. You're in the guard tackle gap. You just hit the tackle tight end gap, they get the ball off. You got to pay attention to what you got to do. The nickel dogger doesn't go over with the motion. You stay back in dog. You just knock him out if you do what you're supposed to do. You with me? Let the cover guy go with the motion. You stay and run the dog. Swing dog. Come on. That's why we're practicing.
We didn't come to Atlanta to lose. We're here to get better. We're here to win. And the bottom line is we're going to have to pay the price. We're going to have to work hard. The only thing we ask them to do, really, is to spill their guts, play as hard as they can play, run, chase, hit, get after you, and then we can live with the results.
Come on, Norwood, come in an angry mood. You're there. You don't look like you're mad at anybody. When you get there now, you're not scared, are you? You're not scared? You're not afraid? Then come on in an angry mood now. Houston, get his ass going.
What we think is if you do those things that are important to us, and if we can set the standard at those things, then the wins will come along.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Good job. Good job. Good job. There it is. There it is. Ah! Woo!
That's the way to go in there.
Now we're playing. Now we're going deep.
It's 1990, and it's a time for change. And I think the Falcons are the team of the 90s, and you better watch out because we're going to be on our, our P's and Q's this year.
Good job. Good sack. That's how we're going to play right there. It's a whole new ball game. It's a whole new ball game.
It is a whole new ball game, not only in Atlanta, but around the entire NFL. A new generation of fans, a new generation of heroes. The new decade offers a new stage, waiting to be filled with feats of might and magic. The history is there, waiting to be made by new teams and new men. Men who will consistently strive for and reach the game's greatest heights. They are driven by a desire to be the best, never satisfying their appetite for greatness. In the 1990s, they will be the NFL's hungriest men.